this past weekend, the NFL proved to me that Super Wildcard Weekend was a great idea. I thought Super Wildcard Weekend was awesome. Outside of the Saints and Bears game, I think that's the only game to me that I felt like was unwatchable.
Yeah.
That's the only one to me. And even the Nickelodeon broadcast made it a little bit watchable. Mitchell Trubisky won the Nickelodeon Valuable Player
Hilarious.
Award. It's ridiculous. To me, it's ridiculous. Maybe kids know that he's a better quarterback than what he's showing. Maybe they're much more forgiving.
I'll just say this. The internet is undefeated. That was a great troll job by whatever fans decided to go and vote him to be the MVP. But the best was after the game, Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes, 0 combined MVPs. Mitch Trubisky 1 MVP.
And what's funny about that is that I was actually hoping that somebody was going to ask him that question in the post-game press conference. How did he feel about winning the MVP? The MVP? Nobody asked him. I was kind of disappointed in that. But I thought it was a great weekend because we had a bunch of great storylines happen. Tom Brady getting Tampa their first playoff win in over a decade. You have Lamar Jackson winning his first playoff game. We have the Saints versus Buccaneers happening next week because the Saints won theirs. But I think the two best storylines were that the Bills and the Browns both won their first playoff game in over 20 years. The Bills' last playoff win was in 1995, and the Browns' last playoff win was in 1994 when Bill Belichick was their head coach. The Bills beat the Colts 27-24 this past weekend, and the Browns beat the Steelers 48-37. Because of those two things happening, I thought it made the weekend great because two franchises that have been in the gutter for a long time, the Bills not as much, but the Browns definitely have been a laughingstock for many, many years. They're finally finding relevance within the NFL, and they're winning and they're competitive, and both teams are very fun to watch.
Yeah, and I know a couple of Bills fans, and I know a Browns fan, and I can tell you this, the Browns fan, even when the lead was 28 in the first quarter, he was not bragging. He was nervous. He said, this is what the Browns do. This is their MO. This game's not over. And it just goes to show you, when you are at that level for so long, you just become accustomed to, how you were saying about the Jets with Doug Peterson. You become accustomed to your team doing the wrong thing. So it was great to see both of those franchises have, maybe not their shining moment. I'm sure they both have bigger goals in their
rear view mirror.
Yeah. They're looking towards bigger goals, but to get a playoff win is an incredible thing. It's a very difficult thing to do in the NFL, and the Bills and Browns have done great jobs building their programs, getting their franchise quarterback, building a team around him, getting the right head coach. Both of them have done such a great job. They deserve to have this moment. And the Browns especially, getting to beat the Steelers in that upset fashion after the comments that Juju made and, all the talk that the Steelers have been doing this entire season, to get that win against their rival, it must have felt incredible.
Yeah, Denzel Ward didn't play. Joel Bitonio didn't play. Kevin Stefanski didn't coach. Jack Conklin got injured very early in the game. A lot went wrong for the Browns, and for them to handle that adversity and overcome it, when just a couple weeks ago we saw them lose to the Jets when they didn't have wide receivers available, is a pretty impressive accomplishment. And I think the Browns right now are rolling. I'm not saying they'll beat Kansas City, but it's going to be a much closer game than people expect. I know right now the spread is, I think, the Kansas City by 10. They have them winning by more than 10, so it's a pretty... They're expecting a blowout.
Yeah,
for that game.
That's like the Bears Saints was 11.5. So I don't think it's that big of a gap. I thought that Bears Saints was a bigger gap than this Chiefs Browns game, especially with Stefanski coming back. But I don't listen to Colin Cowherd much, and I think some of his analogies are laughable. But one thing he said, I was listening the other day that I thought was great. He said Stefanski, what he's done with that program and now being out this weekend was like parents going away on a vacation and leaving the kids with the house and trusting them to not ruin the house and coming home and the house is cleaned for him. The cops weren't called. There wasn't any crazy parties. They came home and the house was cleaned because he's done such a great job building that program. He's done a great job with his coaching staff, with Baker Mayfield. I said it last week on our episode. If the Browns win this game, this could be a career-defining moment for Baker Mayfield because he took so much responsibility on his shoulders. He was playing with an offensive lineman that he met for the first time in the locker room before the game. Like, that's unbelievable. So it just goes to show you how much the Browns have grown as a franchise, and they really have put the right people in place to succeed. And now getting back Stefanski and Joel Bitonio and everybody who they were missing like 20-plus staff members due to the COVID list. So getting everybody back after a big win, the Chiefs were sitting home last week. In some ways, that could be positive, but also you don't get the boost from winning a wild card game. So I think it's going to be interesting this upcoming weekend. And for the Bills, I mean, being able to pack 6,000 fans into the stadium, Bills Mafia, getting that nail-biting win over the Colts, it's just an incredible moment. And you got to be happy for those franchises. It's finally, after 2 decades, getting that moment. It must be incredible.
The Browns and the Bills and the Ravens winning means that every quarterback that was in the playoffs from the 2018 draft has advanced to the next round. The 2 quarterbacks that were drafted in the first round that didn't are Sam Darnold and Josh Rosen. Josh Rosen, I think people lost all hope on him. Maybe there's still some for Sam Darnold, but I think it's pretty incredible. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Baker Mayfield all moving on, all playing really well. Browns and Bills fans, you guys should be proud of this moment, of this playoff win. I know it's just a playoff win, but maybe this is the start of something even more special for years to come.
Yeah, and you got to start somewhere, and it makes you a destination. It makes you a place where guys want to be, and you got to start somewhere. Like I said, Rome wasn't built in a day. I don't think either of those teams were going from the dumps to Super Bowl contenders right away, but the Bills, I mean, who knows? I don't think the Browns are at that level right now, but the Bills, they could make a run at it. But it's been awesome to see how they've turned things around so quickly.